Hi everyone, Grizzly Granny here. On today's video, Gary and I will be riding our Sunseeker CSX Fat Tad Recumbent Trikes from Utah Trikes around gorgeous Lake Dillon, also known as the Dillon Reservoir. So let's get started. We parked near the Dillon Marina Beach. If you start your ride from here, expect to ride through residential areas, mostly condos, for a ways before you actually get closer to the lakeside portion of the RecPath. Today was the first day we used our new GoPro, which was a surprise gift from our son, especially for this ride. We will be trying out some different settings and mounting locations on our trikes for the very first time. This multi-use recreation path, or RecPath as it is called, is approximately 18.8 miles around Lake Dillon. Lake Dillon is near I-70 at the Silverthorne and Frisco exits. It is located near Frisco in Breckenridge, Colorado in Summit County. It's about 72 miles from Denver. So come along on our ride with us today. We'd love to have you along this journey with us. Let's ride, shall we? The RecPath can be accessed at many points along the loop, but the actual mile markers for the loop begin at the Frisco Marina. Most cyclists recommend traveling clockwise around the reservoir from there. We had been told by other riders we know how beautiful and flat this loop is, except for one very small hill, which was very doable for anyone of any skill level. However, guys, do your homework. We did, and I'm so glad. After we did our research, we found out about the long climb around Swan Mountain. And then, on the descent from Swan Mountain, there are many switchbacks with a fairly steady grade. At about mile 13 or so from the marina, we read that the path reaches the Sapphire Point area, which is the highest elevation of the RecPath loop. This sits at just about 9,500 feet. Just past this point, we read that the RecPath ends and cyclists must share the road with cars, trucks, and other motor vehicles for what the trail description terms as, quote, an exhilarating 1.5-mile downgrade. Although I might use a very different description than that. Well, that information was enough for me to personally decide on this very busy day that I was going to skip the climb and the long descent down Swan Mountain. Instead, we opted for a partial loop ride, as shown here on the map in pink, going in two different directions. Not at the same time, of course. Although sometimes in life, don't we feel like we're going in two directions at once? I know I do. Most of this ride was beautiful, but on this very crowded day, which was a Sunday, we experienced a mixture of large groups of pedestrians spreading out the entire pathway and many cyclists far exceeding speed limits whizzing by. Now, we did not get any video of either of those scenarios, but they did happen often. So I would recommend opting for a weekday if you would like to follow the speed limits and take in the scenery as you ride and not really have to worry so much about getting hit or literally run off the path. Dillon Reservoir is owned and operated by Denver Water, currently Colorado's largest public water company. The Dillon Reservoir supplies water for the city of Denver. Gary and I opted to ride the Lake Dillon RecPath on a beautiful, warm fall day. The aspen leaves were just starting to turn golden that day, and if you look closely, you can see the very lightly snow-capped mountains in the background, providing a majestic backdrop for the many breathtaking vistas surrounding us. Gary and I have gone kayaking on Lake Dillon, but this was our first time cycling there on the RecPath. If you choose to get out onto the lake, you can easily spend the entire day on the lake exploring. For those of you who do not own your own watercraft, there are all kinds of boat rentals offered at Lake Dillon's two marinas, one on either end of the lake, Dillon Marina, and on the other end of the lake, Frisco Bay Marina. Part of our ride, we opted to go counterclockwise, as I mentioned before. Here's where it got a little hairy and uncomfortable for me personally. There is a portion of the RecPath that travels parallel to the very busy, heavily traveled Highway number 7, also called the Dillon Dam Road. Now, this part of the path had a grade or tilt to it towards the steep rocky hill down to the lakeshore. Now, I have some vertigo issues, and this was not comfortable for me at all, especially on the return trip when we were going clockwise, and I was on the lower part of that path with a lot of oncoming cycling and foot traffic. Just when we had finished that portion of the ride, and I was so relieved to be past that portion along Dillon Dam Road, we found out we had to ride opposite oncoming motor vehicle traffic for a fair distance. Now, we were on the road with them, and it was only delineated by, painting of where the bike lane ends and where the road begins. That was much too close to the RecPath, in my opinion. If just one of those drivers were not paying attention, the cycling or pedestrian traffic would have been easily taken out. When we finally turned off that portion of the Dillon Dam Road, we were immediately immersed in beautiful pines and aspens. Now, this is more like it. What a gorgeous ride that was. If you go, this is a great place to take a break, stretch your legs, and get some phenomenal photos. Due to the time of day and considering the very heavy traffic one always encounters coming down the mountains, returning to Denver, especially on Sunday afternoons, we decided to turn around and head back. Once again, facing the heavy highway traffic parallel to the RecPath and that tilted dam road path standing between me and my truck. I must admit, though, the lake views along this area are absolutely stunning. to go ahead and give you guys a list of pros and cons for Lake Dillon Reservoir. These are personal pros and cons from our perspective. Yours may be totally different. Let's start with the pros. There are multiple points of entry. There is really good parking, beautiful vistas and scenery. That's one of the best pros, I think. A very rideable surface on most of the trail. Beautiful beach area near the marinas. And Frisco Bay Marina has a lot of amenities located at the opposite end of the lake. And the cons for us would probably be, it was highly congested, and it usually is in peak seasons of summer and fall. There's one very long, steep hill and its associated descent. Portions of the RecPath parallel heavy, high-speed motor vehicle traffic, and that tilted grade on the trail that parallels Dillon Dam Road. All Trails app has rated Dillon Reservoir, or Dillon Lake, a moderately challenging 8-kilometer trail, and states that it takes an average of 6 hours, 22 minutes to complete the entire loop. Now, I'm assuming that would be on foot, hiking, or walking. They state that the best season to visit is May through November. Dogs are welcome, but must be on a leash. So, whether you choose to cycle, hike, or even get out on the lake on watercraft, please do your homework, make a plan, and then definitely visit Lake Dillon Reservoir. Be prepared for a crowd. They're always going to be there. And do not forget to take your camera. If you enjoyed or found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and smash that bell so you can be notified when I release new content. All in all, it was an absolutely beautiful day and beautiful ride. We topped off our ride with a pricey but delicious meal in town and headed for home. I would just recommend, if you decide to ride the Lake Dillon RecPath, look at maps carefully before you go, check apps like All Trails, and know the lay of the land before you go. One of the considerations for us senior ladies is that some of the restrooms were already closed for the season when we visited, and it was early fall. So keep that in mind if those things are a consideration for you. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day to watch my video. Blessings and peace to you in these stressful and uncertain times. Until next time, this is Jeannie, the Grizzly Granny, saying happy trails and be safe out there.